Hey guys, it's Jonny wishing you a happy 2024 from my hometown of Newcastle. So I've been spending my Christmas over here, and I thought while I was back here it would be a good idea to make a vlog, make a video for you guys, tell you a little bit about Newcastle and what it's like as a city. Because despite not being a big city by UK standards, it still attracts a lot of people, and so there are a lot of people who come here to live, work and study and raise families as well. If you've clicked on this video, maybe you're coming from somewhere else in the UK or from abroad, and you're interested in learning about what life is like in cities like Newcastle or somewhere else in the UK as well, in order to consider whether it's a place for you to come and study or seek job opportunities afterwards. And so to help give some answers to that, we're going to go and speak to one of my friends called Archie, originally from France, but he came to Newcastle about 7 years ago to study and has stayed and been working here ever since. So we're going to be asking him questions about what life is like in the UK, what it's like as a student, what kind of job opportunities are available, and how they compare to the options he would have had back in France. So I hope you find this conversation helpful, guys. Without any further ado, let's go right to it. Hi guys, so I'm here with my friend Newman. Thank you for coming on Millennials with Money today.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you, where are you from, what do you do for work, etc.
So, my name is Archie. Just call me Archie. It's probably the easiest and the most common nickname I've got, especially in the UK. I come from France. I moved up here about 7 years ago now. Yeah, 7 years ago, 2016. So that's pretty much 7 years. Moved up here for university. I grew up in a little town in the south of Paris, and studied most of my studies in France, west of France to be precise, in Nantes. Then decided, like a lot of people, not to work straight away after university. Instead, I wanted to travel or do something different, discover something that was different, and not just jump straight into the working world, basically, which led me to apply for like a business management type of degree, which had a dual degree in university in Paris and a university in Newcastle. The reason why I am in Newcastle is that I didn't really have a choice, and the only partnership there was Newcastle.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, before I came here, I knew nothing about Newcastle. A little bit of football, but that's really it.
Yeah. 7 years later and you're almost a fully fledged Geordie now.
That's it. I don't know if you can hear my accent, but it's a bit of a mix of French and
yeah.
Geordie. It can be a very, very strange accent for some people. They're like, ugh.
Yeah. And so tell us a bit about what you do for work now that you're here.
So once I finished my studies here at Northumbria, I applied for jobs, and I wanted to be in Newcastle. I really like the city when I first come here, and I didn't want to move anywhere else in the UK. I could have compromised and went to Edinburgh. I think I was looking in Edinburgh and Newcastle just to stay in the north of England, stroke Scotland, basically. So I work as a project manager now in construction, but I first started as an assistant site manager and worked my way up over the years. So along those 7 years, I've worked in Durham, so near Newcastle, then worked in Leeds for 2 years, worked in Glasgow, and then back in Newcastle. So I'm now working, luckily, about 5 minutes walk from where I live.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great, good stuff. So you said you really liked the city, you wanted to stay here. It must mean that you had a positive experience here as a student. Can you tell us a bit about that and, life as a student in the UK in general and in Newcastle?
So back in France, I did my master's in construction management and civil engineering, and the life as a student in France, especially studying civil engineering, is very different to the life as a student in the UK. The system is completely completely different, and I had a bit of a shock when I first came in here, realizing that you don't have as many classes, but you have to do quite a lot of work at home by yourself. Like, you're more independent as a student over here. So that was that. Very, very little like classes, seminars.
Yes, seminars.
But a lot more like reading, research, a lot more typing, and all that stuff. So library work. But on the other hand, we had a great life as a student here. I say we, me and my friends who came over as well. As in, there's a lot to do as a student. You've got student union, you have a lot of societies. There was just a lot you could do compared to what we had back in France. Even sports, like having a big sports central in the university was strange, because I'm not used to that. It's not standard where I come from. So yeah, the student life was really good. I would recommend it just for that.
No, honestly, definitely. Like, from having studied in France myself as well, we kind of did the inverse. So of course you're from France, studied in the UK, and I'm from the UK, studied in France a bit. And I definitely agree with everything you said. You know, you got a lot more independent study time here, and I think you have a much better social life as a student. It's like, you know, businesses and, you know, people in the city, like, there's much more on offer for students, whether it's, you know, discounts, whether it's offers at the gym, whatever it may be. Yeah, you know, if you're a student, like, you can fit like right into a city because of the way that businesses and people make the city accessible for you.
Yeah, Newcastle is very cheap compared to other places in the UK, I would say. And living here as a student, like, you don't break the bank really. You can find ways to save a lot more on your budget. Also, to mention that because you don't have that many classes during the week, you're more independent, you can fit in a job as a student, where in France you can't really think about being a student and working is not really a thing. This was a surprise where almost everyone had the job, or most people did. A part-time job. So.
That's true, yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, on a student visa in the UK, you can work up to 20 hours a week or something like that. So
which is decent. I mean, you can make a fair bit of money on the side, either to spend more or to save for later.
Exactly.
To pay for your studies. So it's a very positive aspect of studying here. Definitely.
So when it came to looking for a job after university, particularly in Newcastle, which is where you wanted to stay, did you find it particularly challenging, or was it okay?
I don't know if it was a strike of luck, or if it was just the way the industry was at the time, but I didn't find it hard at all. Basically, I think I finished in December, then went back home for about 3 weeks before I found a job and came back. During that 3 weeks, I applied for every like project I could apply for that was in Newcastle or Edinburgh. That was my focus. So I limited myself in terms of location and where I was applying for. So even with that restriction, I still didn't really find it hard. Like I said, it might have been just luck. LinkedIn really helps. I used primarily LinkedIn. What I would advise anyone who's looking for a job, obviously, to really understand how to use LinkedIn, because it's a very, very powerful tool. Looking for companies, basically, looking for projects, companies, trying to understand how the structure of the company is, and then find the people on LinkedIn and just either message directly or find out what the email is and email. So that's what I did. Emailed the director of the company that I work for now, and I got an email back pretty much the next day saying, are you available for a phone call? Phoned the next day, then I got asked to come over for an interview, so I just literally packed a bag, packed a small bag, and I thought, right, I'll just head back, have the interview, have a good time. If I don't get a job, I'll get a week holiday and head back home.
Yeah.
Didn't really have much expectations
Yeah.
regarding the interview, and a lot of my friends were here for longer than me, so I could meet them and stay with them. So it was quite easy to come back. So once I did the interview, I got offered the job straight away.
That's
And
crazy.
I didn't really think about it too much at the time. I just signed on the spot, and that was it. I was like, right, what's next?
Wow.
Now I've got to sort out national insurance, a bank account, and all that, and a flat. It was just like very, very. It was just overwhelming, to be honest. But
Mate came for an interview, left for the job.
that's it. It was just strange. The
Yeah.
way it happened.
Yeah. And do you think, like, from speaking to other people who are were in a similar situation to you, did they have the same luck, or did they find it much harder to find a job?
I haven't got many friends who actually wanted to stay here for a job. I would say it would really depend on the industry. I mean, working in construction, there is a lot of work, and at the time you could work without a visa because of obviously Brexit didn't actually apply straight away.
Yeah, so for context, this was 2017, 2018, so pre-EU exit.
Yeah, so back then it was easier. You literally just had to find someone who would be willing to hire you.
Yeah.
And that was it. You could have the job. Whereas now we need to find a company that has to is able to sponsor you.
Yeah.
And also that is wanting you as a as an employee as well.
Yeah.
So it's a double challenge.
Yeah. It's harder. Although I think if you're in the UK on a study visa, I think you have a period of 6 months or something like this to find a job after it.
I'm not too sure, to be honest, if it's changed or not. I know it's quite a bit of a moving target. It's changing.
Yeah. I'll research it, put it on the screen when we upload this and for the people watching.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think there is a grace period after you finish studies in the UK if you do want to seek a job.
It sounds about right, to be honest. But,
yeah. And so, do the opportunities that you discovered here, how do they compare to back in France? Are there more? Are they less? Are they better?
What I would say, I haven't really worked in France. I've done a couple little jobs, like summer jobs, and I had the long placement at the end of my studies, but I haven't really worked as such. So I haven't gone through the searching phase where you're looking for a job and going for interviews and stuff. What I would say from my friends' experience who stayed in France and tried to work there, the opportunities abroad, there are more opportunities abroad. There's more opportunities here than there is there in construction. Now, whether it applies to all industries, I'm not sure, but there's definitely been a better opportunity for me here. I find it that also you can be a self-made person here, whereas people would look more at your background in France, as in like university background. If you don't have a degree, you can't achieve certain positions, or you can't even apply for them. Whereas here, people are in my position where they don't even have a degree. They haven't even been to university, so you do have that opportunity if you work hard to get to where you want.
I think there's a lot more study routes and professional development routes in that sense in the UK. So if you don't necessarily go to university, but you might get on an apprenticeship program that'll take you there as well. And even again, from a self-made perspective, like if you want to start your own thing in the UK, which we'll come to a bit later in the video, I think that's a lot easier to do here than in certain European countries as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. And even if you wanted to train for something at a later date, when you're like 40-year-old or 50-year-old, I feel like you have this opportunity here. Whereas in France, you would never go to university, or very rarely, and find someone who's older, who's like in their 30s or 40s. That was a surprise when I did my degree. Most people were like actually experienced. They already had worked about 10 years or 15 years. So you'd be studying with someone who's 50-year-old, and that was normal here, where it's not in France.
Yeah, it's a very common occurrence at university here that you'll find, the odd person in their 30s or their 40s in a university lecture.
Especially in master's degrees.
Yeah, definitely. And let's talk money as well. So, how does the salary in the UK in construction compare to back in France?
In terms of salary, in the UK you get paid slightly more for the same job, in construction anyway. But then I think you have to look at also the cost of living in the UK, and the cost of living in the UK is higher in many aspects than it is in France.
Yeah.
So if you compare consumer buying power, it probably is similar, I would say. You come up with the same at the end of the month, I would say.
All right.
So
yeah, it's a fair assessment. I think people sometimes get drawn to a country because there's high salaries, but they don't factor in the cost of living. So
yeah,
it's a good point you make.
It's like if you wanted to go and work in Dubai, yes, you get a bigger salary.
Yeah.
But the expenses are a lot more as well, so you have to take that into account.
Yeah, so you got to pretty much figure out, what your realistic living expenses would be as well, to find out if you'd be better off in one place or another.
I agree. And taxes, obviously.
Yeah,
let's go to the tax system. Taxes are big in France.
Yeah.
As you probably already know, just like they are in most European countries.
Yeah. So now talking a bit more general, outside of work, how do you find life in the UK in general?
I feel like it's a very fast-paced life in the UK. And that's my feeling. When I'm here, it's like everything is really fast. Like you don't have time to think and sit down and meditate. It's like, right, you finish work, after work you've got to do this, you've got to do that, go to the gym, or it's very, very fast paced, and everything moves very fast. You may be able to compare to Spain, where it's a lot more chilled out. Even people are not as rushed in their everyday life. That's a feeling I've got. Okay,
well that surprised me. I mean, if we were talking here about comparing London and France, for example, then maybe. But a lot of people comparing London to Newcastle, I think it's two different paces of life as well. But you still find the pace of life in Newcastle very fast.
Yeah, obviously it depends on your lifestyle. You can have a lifestyle where you just you finish work and you go home and you just relax, and you've got your weekend, etc. It depends on what job you do as well. Yeah. But it's just the feeling I've got here is it's very fast paced. If you want to achieve greater things, which this society pushes you towards anyway, so the competition you have in England is actually pushing you to be better in every way, always pushing you to get a better job, or be better at your job to get better money, or health-wise, fitness is pushing you, so you have to push yourself to go to the gym, or you just fall behind. You feel like you fall behind. Does that make sense? Obviously, I don't think everyone lives the same life, but I don't even have kids, and I feel like it's hard to fit everything in. So imagine adding a family onto that. It's a big one. It's a big one, and because the society is so demanding, even you have to always be always be on top and look after. If you have a family, look after your family, make sure they're on the level you want them to be at, or you just you don't get looked down upon, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay. That was an interesting answer. I didn't expect that. But so, in terms of giving general tips for people who are maybe looking to come to the UK, whether it's to look for a job or whether it's to study and then perhaps work after, what would you share with the viewers, kind of based on your experience?
Make sure you bring an umbrella. My first tip.
That was a good one. Now I see why you checked your notes there.
Make sure you bring an umbrella, because there is a lot of rain, especially in the north of England. So that's on the downside. On the flip side, you've got a lot to look forward to if you come and study here. One of the tips I would give is make sure you budget properly, because life in the UK can be very expensive compared to anywhere else in Europe, and I think I misunderstood what I would have to spend when I was here, when I first came, and after a few months I was like, oh, right. Got a bit of a cold shower, literally. So make sure you budget properly, do your research on like what things cost. It's quite easy to find, I'm sure. You find a lot of advice on your Insta or YouTube channels.
Yeah.
But also online, you find a lot of resources.
Yeah.
That way, you don't get any surprises.
Yeah.
Whereas, another tip is to try and network as much as possible. Like, as soon as you get here, like make sure you've got your networking head switched on, and just, especially if you're planning on staying here, finding a job, it's just all about networks, about who you know, isn't it? And it's quite big over here, I would say.
Yeah. The networking one is good as well, and what people will find when they come to university is there's jobs, careers fairs all the time, employers, you know, multinationals, national companies, even small companies, like they'll come and set up. So even just talking to someone there, like it can open a door that leads to an employment opportunity.
Yeah, it's true. There was a lot of that actually. Now I remember. I know it's been a few years now, 7 years. I'm starting to forget what happened back then. But yeah, you're right. That we had quite a lot of opportunities to speak to professionals. We were taken on a lot of site visits by companies through university, so we had the opportunity to meet those people. So in all, yeah, it's the advice I would give. Like, one side's the budget in, and keep your head switched on when you come here, and make sure you network as much as possible.
Nice, great tips. All right, and so to finish off, we mentioned a side hustle, a little side project you've started. So tell us about your side project that you're doing at the moment.
So about a year ago, I would say, I decided to get into fitness a bit more, and as I went along that path, I thought I'd maybe start something like with it, because it's my passion. I actually really enjoy it. So I'm very passionate about fitness, the health industry, even the fashion industry, which can be linked to it.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I decided to try and launch my Insta page and try and help everyone I can follow not the same path, but a similar path.
Yeah.
And try and get into like a fitness journey, like a physique transformation.
Yeah.
So my plan for now is to try and build that up, and help just as many people as I can, and see where that will lead to. Yeah, it's very open at the minute. There's no end goal, let's say, but that's
but a lot of possibility from it as well. And you know, I told you the other day when we met, you know, you keep me going to the gym, keep me motivated, and if you check out the results as well, you'll see like your transformation is incredible actually. Like
I appreciate it.
Yeah, from like a year, 2 years ago to now. Yeah, very impressive.
Thanks. No, I've got a few people who actually already send me photos of their progress every month or every 2 months, and I'm like, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
And I'm quite happy when I get that, because it's like, I know I'm not doing it, but at least if I can help 1, 2, 3 people, like transform their body and their life, because sometimes it's life changing.
Yeah.
When you go from, being tired all the time and not being active to actually training almost every day and being very active and finding that energy and fire back. So that makes me happy, and maybe who knows, one day I'll make that my full time. It's instead of a side hustle, a full time job.
Yeah. Well, mate, I wish you all the best with it. I'll leave his Instagram link. I'll leave Anu's Instagram link in the video, so you can go and check it out as well. So give him a follow, go check him out. Good stuff.
Thanks.
And thanks a lot, mate, for your time today.
Thanks,
really good
Jonny.
tips. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview. Hope you found it helpful. Leave a comment and let us know if you're thinking of coming to the UK for study or work. I'd love to hear what your plans are. So you know how this goes, right? So see you on the next one.
And let's get this money.
Good enough.